Okay. Hi, everybody. Ooh. I just did that so that you would all shut up and sit down. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm joking, but we're going to go ahead and get started here. Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Karla,
I'm Jacob.
and we operate Flowerdaze Farm in Western Trinity County. And we're really excited to be here today to talk about cultivating terroir, bringing out the unique qualities of your farm. And the main reason why we wanted to speak about this topic is because we put out a book last year, our season-long recipe, the Flowerdaze Farm Regenerative Guide to Cannabis, and people were really interested in how we were farming without buying any commercial inputs. And so we put out our recipe, and really it was also a way for us to encourage other people to get really creative with what they can do on their own land. And so the next kind of natural evolution from there is to really think about how, when you're using all of your own inputs from your land and your immediate locality, even if it's community-wide in your micro-region, you're really building something that's extremely unique in flavor and in experience, because it's distinctive and reflective of that place. And that's what terroir means. And so when you experience a product from a place, you experience that place as you taste and experience that product. And it happens with wine, and it happens with cheese. It happens with all kinds of things that we see in different parts of the world, and it is true of cannabis.
And we really feel like the future of California cannabis is sun-grown cannabis, because if you're growing inside, you could be using Chinese sun from anywhere, anywhere you are, and it's not necessarily reflective of the place you are. So if you're, growing indoor, like I just want to tell everybody, like watch out for the indoor coming out of the Midwest, because they're stuck in their basements all winter, like tinkering. And we really have a unique culture and a unique thing that we've been doing on the West Coast in cannabis, and that really is going to be for nothing if we don't embrace the fact that we do it in the sun and encourage that, because that's what makes California cannabis truly unique. So we're going to talk a little bit about the different ways you cultivate the terroir in your farm. You can either go all the way, or you can just use various aspects of this to bring out unique qualities in your product. So the first thing that's really important is getting to know your land and what's special about it. There's a lot of different ways that every unique place is special, from the geology, the soil types, your various microclimate exposures, and then you have all of your the different ecology, and then how your farm interacts with that whole, the whole natural world around you. And so over here we have kind of like a flow chart of all of the components and how they connect to each other. A key part of it being replacing store-bought, which comes from all kinds of places, but the same location for everybody. So if you're buying like a dicalcium phosphate, like a bone meal, it all comes from Sioux City, Iowa. You know what I mean? So everybody who has that in their recipe has that same location, and there's nothing distinctive, unique about the place they're getting it from, right? So when you start replacing store-bought with farm-made, you can see, so you have your native soil as a key component of your of your place. And so whether you're dumping out your pots and using soil you've already bought, incorporating your native soil is going to be a huge first step for incorporating your unique qualities. And if you're not doing that, you're really missing out on what's special about your land. And from there, you're going to get to know, what plants do I have? What's available to me on my land, and start incorporating that.
So getting to know your soils is really embracing the things about your soils that in some ways might not be ideal agriculturally in a traditional sense, but if you practice regenerative soil building and incorporate just what you have to work with your resources there, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, you will see very quickly a transformation in your soil into something that is very beautiful, very workable, and very rich with everything that your plants are going to need.
So a lot of the techniques that Josh and Sandra were talking about, and Daniel and Taylor, all of that applies to working with your native soil to improve it. We work with animals. Not everybody is necessarily interested in working with animals, but they, are eating from our land. We are collecting the manure, composting that, putting that in the garden, and using that to create a continuous, a closed loop, but also we're bringing out the qualities of our land through the inputs that we're putting back in. So everything that they eat from the land is rich in the minerals that we have that are unique to our area and our soil types and our different plant species. And so when we use that in a compost, we're bringing that back into our garden, and we're bringing out those unique qualities of our place.
And so this close-up is soil that's made from just everything we find on our land and our own compost making process. And by maintaining closed-loop systems of fertility management and utilizing hyper-local and on-site resources to nurture and feed our gardens and our soils, this is how we are able to achieve a really unique representation of the place that we live, which is a really special place. Our terroir, High and Palm Valley, is located within a unique geographic region of the Emerald Triangle, known colloquially as the Klamath Knot. It's in the Middle Klamath Cannabis Appellation. Below the waters of the South Fork Trinity River, there's an intersection where three tectonic plates collided and fused together, and that's what brought about the really steep, jutting, rugged mountains of Trinity County and the distinct blend of soils that are melded from these three different land masses. So in our location, the resulting soils are a mixture of loamy sediment, rich blue clay from an ancient seabed, California red clays, and sediment from quartz and serpentine and all kinds of different things that have been washed down the mountain. And it's characterized by woodland meadows of oak, pine, Douglas fir, madrona, and manzanita. So this is kind of a lot of what we see in our Emerald Triangle appellations. And when you just utilize those things that you have in your location, your soil can really do amazing things. This is a first-year hugelkultur bed that we put in, and got morels that very first winter, which is sweet.
And so, the way we just described our appellation, these are ways for everybody to think about their own farm and how their own place interacts. The more you know about it, the more you can create a story about your place that's individual and unique to you, and it doesn't necessarily become about the same kind of things that the market, or like a commodity market, necessarily is dictating, but now you're able to be unique and expressive and individual and bringing out those qualities sets you apart in the marketplace, like Nick was saying with his seed breeding. And like, so these practices are distinguishing your product from other products because they bring out a unique quality that's specifically unique to your place.
And
So we're collecting biomass from all over our property. One of the things that I think is important to do is get to know all of the plants that you have in your area and get to know their uses and what the different things you could potentially do with them. So we have a lot of oak, so that provides a lot of biomass in the fall, but also a lot of people have a lot of the same weeds, which are dynamic accumulators that you can use. They're taking up minerals from your soil in the right concentrations to correct the imbalances you need to correct your soil. So putting these weeds in your compost pile or making ferments out of them is going to help correct the balances that you need to, and also create like a closed loop system that's bringing out exclusively the qualities of your land. So different things that we have available to us, for example, besides the oak are, we have willow, we have a big patch of like perennial sweet pea and salsify and wild garlic. And so we're able to collect biomass for mulch, a lot of mulch on our property. And hugelculture is a great way to build soils these ways. Also making ferments out of the plants. There's a lot of different ways that we can respectfully work with our land and put those resources back in to feed our gardens rather than importing things.
And a lot of times we forget that weeds have a lot of benefit, and they're there for a very specific reason, as Jacob said, to correct the specific imbalance in that soil. And they're fixing that soil. They're also dynamically accumulating from that soil. And if you just let it be part of your green mulch and your cover crop, you're putting that right back into the ground. And we have wild cover crop now that just naturally reseeds itself on a lot of our land. So we're able to just utilize all the plants, whether they're wild crafted or cultivated, in various ways. And we're going to get into a little bit more of our recipe book if anybody's interested afterwards in our workshop. An example here is just horsetail, which grows in a lot of our more wetlands, and it's an incredible plant for silica content. It's just amazing. It can do a lot for fungal imbalances in your soil, and just making a simple tea out of it is extremely beneficial and can, we've seen plants come back from, really severe imbalance and fungal imbalance. We've been able to treat pretty severe fungal imbalance with just horsetail tea.
Yeah. So a big part of, when you're thinking about, okay, well, how do I do this? You need to think about, well, what am I buying already? And then what can I be replacing that with that I can get from my farm? So a big place, like Daniel and Taylor were saying, making your own compost is a huge step in the right direction, because you're going to be able to make better compost than you can buy, 9.9 times out of 10. It's really, the compost that you can make at home is far superior to anything that you can buy commercially. In most cases, unless you're buying small amounts that are very expensive. And so starting there is a big step. Another big thing is, if you're keeping chickens, if you're keeping any kinds of animals, using that as a compost base or as a fertilizer base instead of, a lot of people are buying chicken manure as an amendment, and that is actually, it's organic chicken manure, but it's an industrial byproduct of cage birds. So those aren't things we're usually okay. That's not usually why we want to do organic gardening. So being able to incorporate those things and substitute, or not substitute, but completely replace something that you would buy at the store for something that you would be able to create on the farm is going to actually increase the quality and increase the unique quality of your product and the place that you're producing it. And I think that's all the time we have, so yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.